It's going to be a long year between now and the ANC's elective conference in December. Analysts say the party has never faced a greater crisis during democracy. Cyril Ramaphosa is expected to run for re-election, while an official opponent is yet to come forward. Well, Dr. Piet Croucamp of Northwest University says unless the party does something drastic, the 2024 national elections could see the ANC lose to South Africa's smaller parties. Dr. Croucamp, thank you very much for joining us. Is democracy in trouble here, or is the ANC in big trouble here?
Well, I think some people would argue probably both. But if the ANC has become unstable and it starts to take drastic actions, which may or may not be within line of the Constitution, it could threaten democracy. I think you just alluded to it earlier. The extent to which states' resources could have been used by the ANC. I think probably the president has admitted that's been used to further certain careers and campaigns within the ANC. That is undermining democracy. There's a lot of things undermining democracy. Also unemployment, massive unemployment, 46% unemployment. That undermines the democratic rights of millions of South Africans. So yes, the ANC is in trouble, but South Africa might even be in bigger trouble.
When we look globally, Dr. Croucamp, why do ethnically based smaller parties emerge?
Well, they usually emerge under conditions of economic contraction, when people start to become desperate and they seek smaller identities within which they can then pursue their own particular interests. In South Africa, we see it more and more. If you just look at it this week, we know that the Patriotic Alliance is going door to door, intimidating small businesses. And with with the sound of xenophobia somewhere in the background, the Action South Africa Party has actually done rather well in the election. Also, the sound of xenophobia in the background. And I think there are many other parties. And then the minister, at least two ministers came out this week, taking the type of action which seems to predict that as far as the election is concerned, that they also think that xenophobia and the sensitivities for foreign people is a problem. The Minister Stella and Benny Abrams, she came out and said she will walk door to door and she will make sure that government compliance or restrictions and regulations with compliance is enforced. We know that's some sort of aim at foreigners as well, or people who employ foreigners. Minister Arden Motsoaledi came out this week and he said that he will take action as far as the Citizen Act and presence of foreigners in South Africa, that the acts to deal with that. We know that's aimed at the debate going on in South Africa, that foreigners seems to be a problem, and it plays into the hand of parties that organize ethnically. And we also seen Thulas Nezi. He said exactly the same thing. He will go door to door and intimidate businesses, and we know they're in search of foreigners in those businesses. All of those activities play into the hands of political parties, ethnically based political parties, who think that we should narrow the definition of who's a South African or who has access to the economy, and we should exclude everybody else.
And everyone's jumping onto that bandwagon, and we can see it, as you say, every day. What happens to the ANC, do you think, if they don't win an outright majority in 2024? Do they split? What does their future look like?
They have a very small chance of actually making 50%. They need more or less R1 billion to fight the election. That is to fill up the stadiums with people. They need the food parcels. They need to bus in people. They need to spend 100 million or 200 million rand just on the registration day, because that's one of the big problems, that people simply not registered. Only 13.8% of the eligible voted for the ANC in the last election. You have to get it up to around about 20-22% to again reach the 50%. It seems like it's almost impossible. And in the meantime, the smaller parties are building momentum. Action South Africa, on the back of xenophobia, is really building up momentum. It's very likely that they could become bigger than the EFF. They already took some votes away from the EFF, the DA, as well as the ANC in the last election. They stood only in 6 areas. So all these smaller parties are really building momentum. The ANC is really going nowhere. The things that they have to do to win back the confidence of people, like creating jobs, like governing better, like having a presence in informal settlements and in townships, I don't think it's possible at all. The ANC is now trapped in the contradictions within the party. They have to fight till the end of the year. They must fight the leadership election. Then they have around about a year to prepare for a national election. I think they're in serious trouble, and they know it.
Doctor, thank you so much for that outlook there. And as you say, and we've been saying for the past 2 weeks, the next year, the next few months are just going to be an absolute roller coaster ride. And one day is a long time in politics. Thank you so much. That was political scientist Dr. Piet Croucamp.